Welcome everybody to the Talking Turkey Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Manny the Commission Jimenez. I'm joined by Cody, Hot Cup of Java Williams. Welcome, Cody.
Good evening. Hello.
Yeah, and also by Tim Mile High Tim Lewis. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you joined. I know we both had rough weeks, but I'll let you get into your coming up years. But I'm glad you're here. We got a lot of disappointing couple weeks to talk about. Very frustrating as we get close to these fantasy football playoffs, which are mere couple weeks away. We're hoping that our team's going to come alive, that our teams are going to be able to make some drastic moves here and actually put up some points to get our players get hot. Some players are starting to get hot, which, running backs are starting to turn it on a little bit. Other players are just completely falling off the wagon, which is very disheartening heading to this time of year. We're going to get into some playoff predictions and what we think is going to be kind of forecasted seeding. And the trade deadline for our particular group is the December 1st. So we got 3 days out. We're going to see players we're going to target and discuss. But right now, let's, like we always do, let's work backwards. We're just fresh off this Monday night ugly game. Earlier I was talking to Cody about my DraftKings lineup, and I had set a lineup for DraftKings, with the captain lineup, and I was like, at halftime I turned the game off because I was in 8th place with a bunch of random people I didn't know. It's like, there's no way I'm winning this. I asked Cody, how did the game end? I didn't even want to watch the second half. He's like, Hawkinson scored in the fourth quarter. I'm like, he was my captain. Okay. And then DJ Moore had a couple catches down the stretch. So I was like, he's my second player on my roster. And then Bears win with the game-winning field goal. I'm like, wait, what? So I went back and checked my score, and sure enough, I had one of my DraftKings lineup. So that was awesome. But other than that, the game was atrocious. I just don't. These teams are abysmal. The NFC North is just taking such a bad turn. My Packers are in there. They're probably the only team that's actually trending upward. But the other 3 teams have just looked so terrible. But you guys tell me what you saw tonight. I know, Tim, this had big fantasy implications for your game tonight against Andrew. Kind of break that down. What is your takeaway from this game?
Yep. So usually if you're going into Monday night and you have a quarterback and a running back to go and you're down by 15 points, you'd feel relatively confident that you're going to probably win that game. You need some things to go your way a little bit, but 15 points is not that much. I ended up getting, I think, 10 combined. I didn't even look at the final stat line because I watched the game and was just disgusted by everything I saw. So yeah, Justin Fields lost a couple fumbles. One was during a sack, so those combined for -7, which is absolutely brutal. Alexander Madison had a decent game, but just didn't get a lot of work because their offense wasn't on the field very much. And I think the Bears once again dominated time of possession. They dominated the turnover battle. I think it was 4-1 turnover battle. I think was the same last week when they lost to Detroit, which was a historic loss. They barely won a game that they should have probably annihilated the Vikings. So it's just it's hard to understand some of the play calling. There was a sequence where the Bears called 3 wide receiver screens in a row, 2 to the same side of the field in a row, first and second down. And then they said, though that didn't work that well. So let's try the same play to the other side. Let's see if it works. And they gained 0 yards on those 3 plays. And, I get that Justin Fields he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not a great passer, but he's capable of doing more than throwing wide receiver screens. And that was 3 in a row. They probably threw, I'm guessing, in the neighborhood of 15 wide receiver screens in this game, which is just unfathomable in a professional football game. There's probably not been that many in the entire league this year. So that's all I got. I ended up losing. Luckily I lost to Andrew, who's, I think, out of the playoff race, and it wasn't someone who I'm fighting for a playoff spot with.
Indeed he is.
But otherwise, just very frustrating. So, lost by 4, I think.
Yeah.
2. 65.
I don't know. I'm confused. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know. I don't think the score is accurate or something. Like, if
Yeah,
you
I think
look at
it's
it
not
in
counting
different,
the safety for his Broncos defense on the
yeah,
website, but on the phone it is. So I think he lost by 4.
Got it.
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Either way,
Oh.
it's it's 2 Justin Herbert fumbles that I lost by, or not.
Yep.
Sorry, I confused him with
both Justins had a rough weekend, so
they
completely
did, yeah,
understand.
but Justin Herbert played a better defense at least. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, Tim. A rough outing there. I turned it off at halftime because the stat that ESPN flashed was Justin Fields' downfield target are averaging 0.3 yards down the field. I was like, what? What is going on here? I was like, this is not professional football. This is disgusting. I couldn't watch anymore. Every ball was backwards or screen. It was, yeah, really, really, really odd. I mean, people who played DJ Moore in PPR leagues were happy, but I mean, outside of that, just atrocious game. What do you see, Cody?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Vikings, they've been playing pretty well recently with essentially their third string quarterback that they had just picked up 3 weeks ago. But this was his worst game, probably of the year, even going back to Arizona. 4 interceptions. He didn't really look comfortable. One of the interceptions wasn't his fault. It went right off, I believe it was Addison's hands as he kind of threw a nice little dig route to him, right off his hands back to the safety. But yeah, 4 interceptions. You're going to lose 90 to 95% of those. And the fact that they were up with the last 45 seconds to go in the game is still a miracle that, I guess the only reason is they're playing the Bears. Just an ugly game. I kept wanting to turn it off, but I mean, what else am I going to do? I just, I had to watch the rest of the game and talk to you guys about it and, follow the scores happening in our league. Cause like Tim said, I was expecting him to just, blow Andrew out. He's only down about 13, 15 points going in with Fields and Madison. I thought, okay, that won't be close. None of the matchups seemed like they were going to be close. And I think 2 or 3 of the matchups could be a 3 or 4 point game. So it got pretty exciting just following the stats, really. It was more exciting than watching the game. That's for sure.
And Dobbs could have had a couple more picks too. Like there were 2 or 3 more that were close to being picked off. So it was, I mean, I think you got to give some credit to the Bears defense because they've back-to-back weeks they made Goff and then Dobbs, who's been, kind of, I don't know if the magic has run out for him or if the Bears defense is just, I think they're playing a little bit better. They picked up Sweat at the trade deadline, which seemed kind of weird that they would do that, but
kind of a throwaway. But
their defense is, I mean, that's 8 turnovers in the last 2 weeks against
the Lions. Is pretty a good offense,
The Lions are definitely. I mean, the Vikings, so, but they had been good with Dobbs, his first couple of weeks. So, so I don't know. Maybe that's why the Bears had such a conservative offensive game plan, but it was so frustrating to watch all those parallel passes.
Yeah, I think part of it is the Vikings are the team, and it's like not even close that blitzes the most is for the time on defense they blitz.
Like half the time.
Wanting to get the ball out quick. But there's other ways to get the ball out quick than just a receiver screen. It was just very uncreative and very conservative. You can hit slants that are behind the guys who are blitzing, and that can kind of get DJ Moore to break one open. But it was just super conservative and wanting to get the ball
or run.
Their OC is just receiver screen.
Run Justin Fields a little bit more. Like he can still run. He still had like 50 yards rushing, I think, maybe 60, but
9 or 10 carries for almost 60.
Could have taken advantage of it with a little bit more quarterback runs or RPOs, but what do I know? I'm just a casual fantasy football player. So.
What I didn't understand is he looked so good when he took off of the ball, and then they just would go away from it. He gained 70 yards per carry, so I didn't understand that.
He just ran for over 100 yards last week. And, so quick passing makes sense against an aggressive defense like that, but it doesn't have to be. There are other quick passes aside from wide receiver screens, so that was just it was painful to watch.
Can we throw a 3-yard slant? And maybe their receivers are fast enough. Mooney's fast enough to break one to the house. It's just weird, very very strange, ugly game. But That's what we're with. I mean, the only good side about it is the Packers are one game out of first place now. Let's go. Looking great over the last couple of weeks. They've been outstanding. So Jordan Love is going to be on the waiver wire, Tim. So that's someone that you can target. I know you're probably going to move off from Justin Fields here as the volatility is too much to deal with. But Jordan Love is looking good out there. And
when you say one game out of first place, what do you mean by that?
They are these one game out of division, but they're still 2 days behind Minnesota. So they're 4 wins, and Minnesota's at 6. So they're still 2 behind, but they'll get there once they play Minnesota late in the year.
But the Lions are even above Minnesota.
What about Detroit?
Oh, Detroit. Yeah. Sorry. You know what? That's a total. You know what? That's a very good call out there. I don't even think about Detroit being that good because it hasn't happened in my entire lifetime. So I totally forgot that they're sitting in first place still. I've just had
they haven't looked good the last couple weeks. So
yeah. No. The Packers got them on Thanksgiving. It was a great game. I mean, Packers really lit them up. The score was 29-23, but it really wasn't that close. So that's kind of where I'm at. The Packers have looked great, and we'll see what happens down the stretch here. But
who do they play this week? I haven't looked yet.
I think it's the Vikings coming up. So
on a short
they already had their bye on a short week. So
well, yeah, I don't know. I need a quarterback no matter what. So because
they get the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football.
Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Hey, that's
who suddenly didn't know how to play defense this week against that powerhouse Raiders team.
Raiders.
another point of frustration. The Chiefs go from making the Eagles look silly to letting the Raiders just march up and down. They didn't even get a sack, I don't think. 3 points from their Chiefs defense. I thought for sure that they would get at least 10, 15, maybe more. So,
but don't the Raiders always put up points against the Chiefs? I mean, they find a way to do that
and still lose.
They kind of play them tough, but it's a rookie quarterback though that the Chargers sacked. I don't know 17 times, and the Chiefs defense has played so much better than the Chargers this year. So. Yeah, just a weird week, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick up the Raiders quarterback.
There you go.
There's a lot of them out there that probably don't have 17 wide receiver screens called a game. So,
yeah, Aiden O'Connell, he might be the man. Yeah. I don't know. I think you could take a chance with Jordan Love though. Definitely in that Sunday night game against the Chiefs.
I've thought about it a couple of different weeks this year, but. Yeah, we'll see. So.
Well, Cody, let's talk about your game. So I know Tim and we were off last week. If everybody didn't forget, we apologize. Everybody got upset, got all the messages like, "Oh, where's the cast?" Hey, we all got things we got to do. Thanksgiving week, we took the week off, setting up, but we're back and we're gonna powerhouse through our way through the last couple weeks of the season here, and then eventually in the playoffs. But last 2 weeks have been very unkind to me. This week was unkind to Tim, but I think you had a good win last week, right, Tim? You did okay, or?
Yeah, I won last week.
Yeah.
It's already like I don't even really remember it too well now after this week, the debacle this week, but
beating Romo's.
I did win.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
at least
I got kind of lucky to beat him because he had he started Howell instead of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So I think that was the main reason I won. I had a decent score, a lot better than this week, but yeah, so good thing. Otherwise, I might be on the edge of the loser bracket if I had lost last week too. So.
Well, you're still gonna get in. It seems like it looks like you just got to secure one of the next 2 weeks here. But Cody, last 2 weeks have been very kind to you.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's talk about last week and this week. So last week, your matchup was against Javi.
Last week was against Alex.
Alex
and his friend.
Yeah, you played the AI bot. That was pretty sound win there. Good job, close game. But this week, you won the money again.
I think it's my 4th time this year.
I was going to say number 4. It's got to be number 4 for you. So big win there. That I think this win's going to securely lock you into second place potentially for the playoff seeding.
Looks that way, yeah. It looks that way with the 2-game gap above Hobby. And only 2 weeks ago, I'll probably be locked into that second seed.
Oh man! All right. Well, nice. I mean,
Yeah,
break it
feels
down.
good.
How did you get that high score? What was it? The player. There was 2 players that I see really propelled you for that score. Of course, one being Josh Allen, but tell us about the other player who rocked it for your team.
I mean, Josh Allen, it's getting to be an every week thing. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan of his and watching his games. But yeah, this week Kyron Williams was coming back, and they were gonna kind of be gentle with him and gave him 16 carries and 5 or 6 catches, but went for over 200 yards, I think, and got 2 receiving touchdowns. And against Arizona, it was glorious. And it's what my team needed. Running back coming back just in time for the end of the year.
Yeah. It goes back to what we called on the Jahmyr Gibbs. What I felt was Jahmyr Gibbs had those great stretch of games when Monty was out, right? And I was like, this might go back to the way it was before when Monty comes back. We were hoping it didn't. All of us were like, Jahmyr Gibbs is that dude. But it's unfortunate, of course, Monty gets the ball, does his thing, scores touchdowns on the goal line. So frustrating for Gibbs, but yeah, getting Kyron back was massive for you. So good job there.
Gibbs in that game ended up out snapping Montgomery still, but Montgomery in standard leagues like ours got the golden touches at the goal line, ended up scoring. Gibbs ended up with 6 points. We don't have PPR, so his catches that he got don't really help propel his score like it might in other leagues. But I still feel good about his usage, and he's on a team whose offense is still pretty good. And if they happen to go down, that they've shown that they'll put him in. I think it was a 65-35 split just because they were down so many points in that first quarter to the Packers.
Yeah. They definitely utilized him pretty heavily late in that second quarter when they were trying to open up some screen game and get 4 to 5 wide receivers out in the field. So he's, definitely asset for them in that space. We'll see. Luckily they play in the dome, so they won't have to deal with weather down the stretch either, except when they go play on the road against the other NFC North teams, Chicago and Green Bay. But it should be good.
Must be nice to get a running back back from IR and have him actually play more than 2 minutes. Is that? I imagine that's pretty nice. I wouldn't know because
it was a concern of mine.
Came back from IR and then has now missed 2 more games. So that's fun.
Yeah, it was in the back of my mind as I was putting him into my lineup. But apparently his knees are pretty healthy and his ankles are.
Against Arizona.
Exactly. Yeah. So at this point, especially it's hard not to feel good about, my team scoring 140 points. It could have been more if you look at my bench. There were some moves I could have made to get even more. I could have, played Baltimore's defense, who got 18 over the New England team I picked up. And I kind of was feeling questionable about Calvin Ridley coming off a big week, but he had another big week, and Lawrence is throwing him the ball. Thank you, Angel, for dropping him. I'm glad I was able to scoop him up. I needed a receiver badly, so I lose Mark Andrews, pick up Ridley. Next man up. I wish I could play him at tight end, but I'm feeling pretty good about my team more and more.
So that means you're happy going to put DeAndre Johnson on the bench?
I can't really talk too much about the strategy going forward. Don't want to, you got to keep it close to the vest. I'm just happy I beat Alex and his friend, 97-94. Wasn't the top score that week, but it felt good. And then back to back, I got revenge against Edgar for taking my title last year and beating me in week 1 this year. So it felt good to do that in back to back weeks.
Deontay, did you guys see that fumble?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, wow. It was after his touchdown that they didn't challenge. So I guess that was his way of showing his discontent with them not challenging what on replays looked like he did have a touchdown.
I didn't see that part.
It was like direct play before.
He just didn't even try to get the ball. It was kind of crazy. It was pretty nuts.
I think in his defense, I think his back was kind of to it. But then even when he had to realize what was happening, he still just decided he was just going to stand there. So that was interesting. I mean, the Steelers still won, but
still highly questionable.
I think he'll have some difficult wide receiver decisions from week to week, but at least you got your running backs and quarterback, or just set it and forget it basically. So it'll just be a matchup game with the receivers. But yeah, Ridley's I'm sure Angels is happy about Ridley as I've been about Gus Edwards until I think the Gus Edwards hype show is maybe finally over. He's not really playing as much the last few weeks, but anyway, that was pretty strong win. I'd rather have your team than mine. That's for damn sure. So,
well, for once, I actually agree with you. Usually, I don't feel that way, but this year I tend. I think I agree.
Yeah. The team is very, very strong. So, not bad. We'll see how that bears out in the postseason here. I think you're going to be locked in.
We'll see. Right now, for 3 weeks in a row, the matchup's been Ricky's in the 7 seed, Cody's in the 2 seed. So for the 3 weeks in a row, we've been going at it back and forth. It may end up coming down to a Belichick Brady type of round 1 playoff. It looks like.
Oh, Michael Scott versus Dwight Schrute.
Ooh, I love
it. Office fans, master versus protege.
That's right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Wayne Gretzky.
Oh man,
Michael Scott.
Oh man! All right, that'll be a great potential playoff primer. I love that.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll get in a little more into the standings in the playoff picture. As we go on here with the scoreboards. But yeah, that was just a little sneak peek of it's funny. The past 3 weeks, it's been kind of locked in like that.
That's good. Well, congrats on your win, Cody, and
Thank you.
Josh Allen just keep humming on it along. So that Eagles Bills game of the week, right? We loved it. Everybody watched that. It was incredible. I felt bad for the Bills. I thought they played outstanding on the road.
They looked like the better team out there.
They did. So
at least for 3.5 quarters.
The Eagles just keep hanging around. I mean, they know how to close games. They've not looked great for long stretches of games the last few weeks, but they still find a way at the end to pull it out.
To hit a 59-yarder in the rain and wind to go to overtime.
That was insane. I cannot believe he made that. Still, they had to think there was a 90% chance he was going to miss in those conditions, and he still nailed it. So
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't raining. Impressive. It was freaking downpour at some of the points of the game. I mean, that field was soaked and wild.
So I wish Kincaid was a little bit more involved in the 71 points that were scored, but what are you going to do?
Stephon Diggs was a big part of that, so thank you.
A lot of Gabe Davis also.
Gabe Davis got some love. Yeah, he did. Stephon got that first touchdown for the Bills, and I was like, okay, the trade doesn't hurt so bad now. I'm happy with that. It
shouldn't have hurt at all once Kenneth Walker got hurt 2 minutes into his game last week, just like HN. So
I know, Tim. I feel for you with those 2 running backs going down in the same week.
You should feel for me for every running back I've had all year. It's
starting with Dobbins from the top.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna put this out there for the entire league. If I drop a running back, you guys better pick him up because he's scoring a touchdown the next week. You can guarantee it. Yep.
So Chuba Hubbard was dropped this last week by you, right? And
after 4 games in a row with 3 or 4 points, I think he alternated basically. Just garbage. It was not a great pickup at the time, but he had some decent matchups coming up and was taking over the starting job. But just couldn't do anything the last few weeks and didn't like the matchup much against Tennessee. But of course, he got 15 points, so I would have won if I held on to him. But that's my year in a nutshell.
All right, so for the people out there, who you dropping on the team so they can be ready to make a claim on them?
I'm dropping Madison this week because he's on a bye.
There we go. We'll see if Manny spends $100 on him.
We can get into it.
I'd advise against it, but the eventual champ might appreciate it. But he's actually looked okay, but he's just he's splitting carries and he doesn't really catch a lot of passes and definitely doesn't score touchdowns. So
Yeah.
That's he's not going to start scoring touchdowns until he's off my team. So you're welcome to whoever gets him for the week, the remaining weeks after his bye next week.
And to Viking fans.
And the Vikings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There you go. And to Vikings fans, that's great. Cody, hey, I want to correct you. I've never spent $100 on the player.
Oh, you're right. I apologize.
Only 99.
I've only spent 99 on the player.
I was just predicting you'd spend 100 on Madison. He's a little more valuable than Charbonnet.
I don't know. It was exactly pretty good. That second half of that Niners game on Thanksgiving, I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, on the Thanksgiving Day. But so just to put some context to that, we're laughing about it. We had talked before we went on our break. Zach Charbonnet being a top waiver wire pick for the running back position. We were all talking about the fab. Per past pickups that have happened in this league, I saw a Chan go for almost $50. Tim,
75, 76,
75 or 75. Okay, and I had seen some, and I went through the list. And I was 72, yeah. 70s. And I saw some other players going for that $60 range. I'm like, man, this league spent some money on running backs. So it was like, I'm gonna have to go big or go home. And so I had over $150 in fab in the budget. I'm like, all right, I put a $100 claim in, and then I thought to myself, that's erroneous. You can't put $100 on a player. So I put 99.
Oh,
and yeah, it's much more reasonable.
Much better.
Yes.
Yeah. Much more reasonable.
It's only 2 digits. It's not 3 digits.
Yes, exactly. It feels so different.
It felt a whole lot different. You had no idea. So I was like, okay, this feels good. This feels a lot better. So the next day when waivers produced at 9 a.m. and I saw on Wednesday, got my guy. And then when I saw the next closest bid, I think it was $20-something. So I was like, ow.
Was it even 20? I don't remember.
It was 11. I put in the bid for 11. I was second highest.
I didn't even bother because I knew, like I mentioned in our chat, like I knew he was going to go for more fab than I have left. So I didn't even bother. But I was pretty surprised to see 99. So he only cost you $20 per point this week. So, not great, but we'll see. I certainly hope he doesn't end up being worth your investment because I got Kenneth Walker. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we're talking about it. Let's get into your matchup, Manny. You went against Alex, Top Gun Maverick, and his friend Goose. Coming off the Charbonnet pickup. He got you 5 points. He spent $99. Looking back, he still has Kenneth Walker with the oblique, not on IR, still maybe coming back. How do you feel about the matchup? Go into it with us.
I think I have another week or two for Charbonnet to take the job, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But he does play the Cowboys this week, which will be a very difficult matchup on Thursday. But we these Thursday games are always a mess. We don't know anything can happen, so I might be forced to start him. But when Alex's team, I looked at his match, I was like, oh my gosh, he's playing. He had Mahomes against the Raiders, McCaffrey against Seahawks. I Pacheco against the Raiders. I was like, oh, I'm not going to win this game at all. I mean, his only tough matchup was Waddle against the Jets, and even Waddle scored, so he was on a trajectory. He got pretty much double digits across the board, and he got 3 guys over 20 points. He had a monster week. I wasn't expecting to win this week just based off of matchups. The matchups I had, I was playing against very good defenses with my quarterback playing against Baltimore, Charbonnet playing against San Francisco, Mixon playing against Pittsburgh, Stephon Diggs against Philly. So I was like, my matchups were rough. And then I thought the Browns would have a better point output against Denver's offense, but, they only put up 3 points. So Denver, the projection was 9 and they only put up 3. So it's the first down week the Browns defense has had in a while. So I was pretty happy with the output from I got from Pollard back-to-back weeks with touchdown. Yep. I think he's starting to get into that groove now. So pretty happy with that. Garrett Wilson and Diggs, Garrett Wilson got his TD this week, and so did Diggs. So the trade's been working out. I wanted to shore up that wide receiver position. I felt like I've done that now. But I got Rashid Rice on the best 18 points, so I feel really good about that now. If he really is being the one starting to emerge as that number 2 behind Kelsey, I'll feel really, really good about that.
You've been holding on to him for a long time, and it looks like it might be starting to pay off. He's on the field more and more now.
Yeah. He looks good, right? We laughed about it, right? We were talking about how the week before we went on by the KC's offense, they just like how bad they looked because they have no one who could catch the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
Tim, we were discussing how NVS, how does he continue to get opportunities in this offense when he just blatantly so bad? He's like Nelson Aguilar. It's like fucking.
There's no other options, though. If they had other options,
That's an
he wouldn't be on
insult.
the field.
That's an insult to Nelson Aguilar, actually.
Oh,
Aguilar has at least had his moments. You
Yeah.
know, he's. I mean, I think
Baltimore wins
he
games.
did. Did he have a touchdown this week again, or I don't know. He had.
I think it was last week.
Or he had a big
Last
third down
week.
catch, maybe.
He had a big catch this
Yeah.
week against the Chargers
Oh.
too. You
Yeah.
know, so at least he's had his moments, but MVS is just he's proven again and again that he's just not. He's good for the occasional deep shot, but then maybe he'll catch it, maybe he won't. So obviously, last week he didn't. So
I mean, he was wide open, ball in his hands in the end zone, and he just hits it to his shoulder and it goes flying off. Like it was.
in his defense,
wild.
that was a tougher catch than Quentin Johnston last week.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst drops.
Or Quentin Johnson the week before.
Yeah, he's
Quentin
just,
Johnson the week before that one.
Yeah, this one hurt the most though because it was such a great pass, and
Yeah.
I mean that's the difference between winning and losing sometimes. So it's just but yeah, back to the Chiefs. So yeah, Rice has clearly shown that he's better than any of their other wide receivers. So
Thank goodness.
but so you think Charbonnet is taking the job from Kenneth Walker?
I do. Just because I had Kenneth Walker all season long, I don't even think it's a full takeover. I think it's going to be a 55-35 split. It's still going to be pretty close. But I just see more juice out of Charbonnet, and I don't know why. What I saw in the second half of that Niners game, he looked, good, getting ball out of the backfield. And I know Kenneth Walker can do the same, but I don't know. I don't know if Pete Carroll, he pulls out Walker in very unique situations, and I don't understand why he does that. I was there at the Rams-Seahawks game, and in early parts of the game, like critical plays, Walker was on the bench, and I was like, what is going on? Why don't you have him in there? And this was before he got hurt. Well, before he got hurt.
No, he got hurt. He got hurt on his fourth carry. He got hurt very early in the like Achane and Walker.
Achane was like the second play of the game.
Yeah, Achane was quicker, but Walker was in the first 5 minutes as well. I'm pretty sure, maybe 7 minutes. I don't. It was their first possession. So
because in the first possession they were coming towards me where my seats were, and I was watching. With Walker, a couple of runs up the middle. I was like, okay, they're gonna get the ball early. That's great. I'm happy about that. But then Charbonnet came in the game, and then Walker never came back. And then I realized he was hurt, but he was on the sideline with his helmet on for quite some time before he actually took the helmet off. I don't know what the deal was. So
yeah,
we'll see. I am not saying the offense runs better. I think the offense actually runs better when they're both healthy. But I don't know. They just think they're gonna take their chance of the Charbonnet down the stretch here if things get out of hand. If they can't get some wins here, they're gonna.
If they start losing and fall out of the playoff race.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty securely in there right now, even with this loss. I mean, the way the NFC playoff picture is looking. I mean, you with the Packers are like 4-7. You're feeling good about where they are. So I mean, the Seahawks,
we're in the hunt.
Yeah, everyone's in the hunt after that 7 seed.
Yeah. I think the Seahawks still definitely have a chance.
They're still 6-5, so they're in a pretty good spot. And I think they still have to play Arizona and the Rams, or I think they played Rams twice, but they still have one more against Arizona.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. I hope that Walker's still the main guy, but he's got to be on the field first. So it's
I mean, yeah, if anything, looking at this week, Charbonnet didn't run away with the job. I mean, he ended up with 45 yards rushing. So it's not like he had 100, 120. Like he's stealing the job from Walker.
No.
But, he's definitely maybe earned that split.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected much from Walker, even if he played this week, against the Niners. But
League's best.
I knew, when I got him that he didn't have a great schedule, but just hope that he's not going to miss too much time. So we'll see.
Well, we all knew this 3-game stretch was going to be just daunting for Seattle, right? San Francisco, Dallas, and back to San Francisco again.
Oh, yeah.
And
do they play the Eagles after that?
Eagles after that for second playoff. So, yeah.
Those next 4 weeks are going to be tough.
Very, very strict. But, Philly, I think, again, if you longer they throw on them, they'll be fine, right? Philly's, look how many points the Bills put up on them. So, it's not like their defense is holding people to 10 points.
Yeah.
It's not. But they're definitely getting passed on. So
yeah, they're beatable through the air.
And did I say the split of 35-55? I'm saying 45-55. I think that split's going to be very close to 50-50 once they're both healthy. But where Zach has the opportunity to get more explosive plays down the stretch. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see who gets the goal line work when they're both back in there. Because, I mean, in the standard league, when you can't really rely on, PPR or getting points for catches on third down, the goal line work really is what you look for in those golden touches that you need.
Yeah. Yep.
So going against Alex, how do you feel about his team kind of nearing the end of the season for Maverick and Goose over here?
Well, he laid the pipe to me with the big score of 132 points. I mean, that team he's got is starting to really, really show. He gets weekly production from McCaffrey. Mahomes is starting to pick it up little by little. Pacheco has been volatile, but he had a monster game this week, and I think it's all matchup based for him. So, Keenan Allen is always going to be plus side for him. If I play him in the playoffs in that first round, I basically lose all those points with Keenan Allen because I have Herbert. That's gonna be tough. He's in a, that's really his only option right now at this point. So he'll have a huge leg up on me. Alex's team is very, very, very good.
He's got the most points this year, so
yeah.
It's like he's had some unfortunate matchup luck that like we've talked about, but pretty consistently scoring a good amount of points. So, I mean, he's averaging over 100 points a week. So, it's I mean, I hope I don't. If I do make the playoffs, I hope my team's not that great. I don't expect much, but hopefully I could at least win one playoff game. And but if I have to go against Alex, I don't know, because I don't think anyone really would want to play his team week 1 of the playoffs. But it's unfortunate that it's someone else drafted for him allegedly. But
it is unfortunate.
He's a firefighter, so I know he's So I appreciate the public service, but would appreciate it if he drafted his own team as well instead of.
I think I would have also. I might have a different number 3 pick.
Yeah. You would be having CMC for sure, 100%.
Yeah. So
But Alex's team is going to be good. I think he was going to close out potentially in that top. He has the opportunity to get into that top 4. With these next 2 weeks.
An outside chance, depending on how you perform.
Exactly. So, of course, I want to end in that top 4 and then get that 2-point bump. It's going to be very important, but we'll see what happens there. Talking about another matchup that has some pretty big playoff implications.
Did you talk about your brothers?
Do we want to talk about them?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get to the Gonzalez brother matchup.
All right. Let's talk about it. So, Ricky, Javi's had his brother's back-to-back weeks. Last week, Javi, congratulations. It was your birthday, your 30th birthday. You were celebrating it in Asia, and I was so generous, and I felt so compelled to really let you enjoy that and savor that victory last week. So happy Thanksgiving and post-Thanksgiving, and happy belated birthday. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. But also good job this week on crushing Ricky. So you took down both your older brothers in back-to-back weeks. Javi's team is really starting to take shape here. He's got Jonathan Taylor, as he said, beast mode was activated once he was activated. I think Jonathan Taylor had a 20 plus point game, 21 points this week. So monster game there. Dak Prescott again continues to ball out. CeeDee Lamb again continues to put up those double digits. So that's Dak and the Cowboys defense. Team Cowboys is trucking right along.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So he's averaged 100 points 4 weeks in a row now, or more.
Yeah. I think he had a 90 in there, but the last 2 weeks he was the top scorer of the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely worried about Saquon, right? His Saquon situation is not great, as we know the Giants are terrible.
Yeah.
And he's the only person on that team. So, and that was evident by the 4 points he got. But as long as he gets production from Team Cowboys, I don't see him, worrying too much.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the Cowboys matchups, they got Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, Miami. So after Seattle, it gets a bit tougher. But if he can make it to the fantasy championship somehow, they got a matchup with Detroit, and Detroit's been the league's worst defense the past 5 weeks in a row. They've ranked dead last in at least in pass defense. And I mean, you saw an example of it on Thanksgiving with Love just shredding them up. And yeah. So if he can make it to the fantasy championship, it might be looking pretty good. But that road there is going to be pretty tough with some of those teams standing in his way.
Oh yeah.
Are we sure that Jordan Love's not just an amazing quarterback though, and that's why he lit up the Lions? Because
that's
a good point.
It's highly possible.
Look at the tape.
I don't know. Tim, I don't know.
Justin Herbert lit him up too. So yeah, they're bad.
Justin Fields as well.
Yeah, and not so much through the air, but I mean
the combination
of
the ground game and
close to 300 yards total, I think, with his rushing yards. So yeah, the Lions have not. Their defense seemed like it was kind of okay to start the year, but it's not looking good the last few weeks, that's for sure. So I mentioned, in our group chat that I think they're this year's Vikings, they look great in the regular season, get a lot of wins, but some lucky wins along the way, like last week against the Bears. And so I don't think they'll win a playoff game, but they're good opponent for fantasy football. So
there we go. Yeah.
Hey, through 11 games, Rodgers and Love virtually the same passing yards. Both have 19 touchdowns. Love has a couple more picks than Rodgers does, but almost virtually same stats. QBR is almost the same. I'm just saying.
League was different 20 years ago. Completely different. It's so much more pass friendly and QB friendly now.
That's good for Love.
But keep holding on to it, Manny. Keep holding on to that hope.
I mean, it's already been a while, but I feel like with Aaron Rodgers, like you could kind of tell, even if he didn't have the great numbers, you could still tell that he was an elite passer. I don't know if Jordan Love is. I mean, if he's anything close to Aaron Rodgers, then that's obviously very good. But Rodgers early in his career, definitely you could tell. I don't think there was a lot of questioning why they moved on from Favre. Like there has been this year with there's been a lot of questions about that, but moving on from Rodgers to Love. So I don't know. I mean, he's had some good games though. He's better than he's in the top half of quarterbacks. I think you could safely say in the league this year, which is probably not saying much now that I think about it, but it's not all been bad. That's for sure.
No, it's been a pretty good season so far. I mean, almost 70% passing on the season. So he had that rough stretch of games in that second month of the season, but outside of that, he's picked it up the last 3 weeks. He's been great.
Got young weapons, so they're learning too. They're kind of learning together.
Yeah,
he's got the youngest receiving core in the league.
Yeah, some of the receivers are starting to step up a little bit.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but they lost Aaron Jones, which is not ideal. No. But that's only going to probably force him to pass the ball more. So,
yeah, I mean,
the turnovers are a little too high. But all right, so this is a good topic. The Packers' young wide receivers: Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jordan Reed. They've all been pretty damn good over the last month and over the season.
The last 2 weeks.
Reed's had some games early in the season and can pick it up late again. Who would be someone that you put stock and invest time into for next season, or one of those three, or as a core, or two out of the three?
I would say Reed over the other two. Watson is he's kind of the deep threat. And so Love, when throwing deep, hasn't been great. That connection hasn't been there. Reed, they're giving the ball out of the backfield. He's able to play in the slot and kind of get those. A lot of people call them like layup touches, where, if there's something quick, it's Love can get rid of the ball and kind of trust him over the middle, or he can run a quick out. Some of those shorter routes and kind of build that up, and it helps Love kind of get more into a groove, and then you can start and run other plays off of that. But they all kind of are completely different from each other and serve their own purpose.
Yeah, I mean, this year was supposed to be Watson, and he had a good game this week, which is probably his best game of the year. I want to say, at least
right
stats
off the
wise.
First play.
Yeah. And I mean, he's more of the prototypical kind of wide receiver, you would think, but he's just always seems to be hurt. So especially like at least for the remainder of this year. Next year, it's hard to say. But Jaden Reed, I would agree, just the way they're using him. He's getting some carries out of the backfield. Kind of not that he's Debo, but at least they're trying to get him involved in some different ways. And with Aaron Jones going down, maybe he'll kind of fill that role of a pass catcher out of the backfield, which Aaron Jones has been great at. Yeah, I would want to say Christian Watson just based on the potential there, but he's not on the field enough, so I wouldn't trust him.
All right, let's play a quick game, because they also have Deonta Van Wicks, who's been serviceable. So they actually have 4 players who have been producing pretty well. So I'm going to give you 4 yardage numbers. You tell me who that belongs to. Okay. 497, 433, 351, 331. So who's at 331?
Probably Jaden Reed, I would say, just because he hasn't been.
What were the numbers again?
They haven't really been involving him too much until the last few weeks.
497, 433, 351, 331.
So 331 would probably be Watson because he's missed time.
Okay. It's actually Devontae Wicks at 331 yards. So
right, the 4th receiver. So then I'll put 351 as Watson.
Very good. Good call.
Okay.
So that leaves 497 and 433. Who does 497 belong to?
I would say Reed.
Dobbs. I would say Dobbs.
Reed.
Is it Reed? Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah. With 5 more less receptions than Dobbs has. Dobbs is the touchdown leader, though, at 7, and Reed with 5, and Watson with 3. So
there you go.
Yeah, I would say the core itself is pretty good. I mean, we can see what the Packers are doing. Like, they haven't had a receiving core in a long time, so it's pretty cool to see. So all the guys are pretty productive.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I mean, Javi, even with Aaron Jones being out, was able to kind of work around it, picked up Drake London, who got him 10 points and put him in that flex spot. So yeah, he had a really good week. We kind of saw it coming with the Cowboys playing. Ricky on the other side, a couple weeks ago, after some of his trades, the trade master Ricky was looking kind of devastating. He had Burrow, who was starting to turn it on and get 20, 25-point weeks week after week. His team was starting to look a little bit scary. I was starting to sweat a little bit looking at his roster, but only was able to put up 81 points. He's in the 7th seed right now. Do you guys see him being a playoff team? Looking at this roster, he picked up Burrow, but then lost him right away. He's made a lot of trades, traded guys away, but the Mike Evans Mostert trade is still killing it for him.
Yeah, it's still killing it for him. If I had kept those players, I'd probably be in a much better position. So it's good for him. I would say he's going to be fine with Debo and Mike Evans. They both are doing quite well. Even DK started to pick it up a little bit. I mean, he had obviously down game against the Niners, but before that, against Rams, he had a decent game. So I think again, the Seahawks schedule is a little tough. Raheem went up against the Jets and he put up 21 points.
Yeah.
So he's going to be producing. And Brock Purdy, all of a sudden, he's the best quarterback in the league again. It's incredible how all the talking heads go from week to week, like, oh, Brock Purdy's not that great, to now he's Joe Montana again. Like, pick a side, man. Pick a side. Unbelievable. But he is very good, and he's got good weapons. And that Debo Brock stack is always great coach.
Yeah.
Always going to put him in position. And he picked up Cole Kmet, who's produced for him.
Yeah, you can't complain with, the Tim special.
Just take my cast offs, dude. It's like, seriously, it's.
Yeah, we were talking.
Yeah, it's incredible how many good players I've dropped this year. Like, it just like you, Manny. If you hadn't made that trade, if I hadn't dropped half the guys I've dropped,
yeah,
I'd probably be in the top 4. I'd have 2 or 3 more wins, probably at least. There's been a few games that I definitely could have won, just made some ill-timed moves. Yeah. So sometimes that's the difference. But yeah, Ricky's team, I think, I mean, he's got to win probably at least one, if not the next 2 games. But yeah, I looked at his matchups next week and it looks pretty favorable. The Niners play Philly. So that Purdy and Debo stack should produce there. He's got Mostert against not Redskins, Commanders. I think I saw. So so some decent matchups. So if he wins next week, I think, maybe not mathematically, but that should help him lock up at the very least the 8th seed.
He also picked up.
He is playing Rob.
He also picked up Jaden Reed, who we were just talking about with that Packers core. He got him for free. I mean, he was just out there on the waiver wire and got him for $0, which is a big pickup for him, especially as we were talking about that receiver core. But yeah, I checked his next 2 weeks. He gets Rob and then Tim. So if he loses this week, that matchup against you can be pretty. But week 14 for the playoffs can be pretty big for both of you.
Spicy, Tim.
Yeah, if I lose this week, then we could be playing each other for the last seed next week. So, but yeah, even if he does play Rob, as I just mentioned, the Niners and the Eagles play each other. So he's up against the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack against the Niners defense. So I don't, normally you'd take that one over Birdie and Samuel, but this week, I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be a fun one to watch. That'll be game of the week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.
I'll be rooting for you, Ricky. You can take down Rob. I believe in it. I believe in you.
I believe in you too. You can do it. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, Cody really wants to win it.
Yeah, I really need him to beat Rob. And the other move he made that was a little bit low key. I mean, Mostert, part of the reason Manny traded him away is his injury history. He went ahead and picked up Jeff Wilson, who's just out there, not really valuable to anyone else. But if Mostert goes down, he would have been a guy Manny would have spent $90, $95 in fab on. So it's good to get him ahead of time.
98.
Oh, 98. Okay, 98. Yeah, that's a good guy to kind of have in your lineup already. Even if Wilson's splitting the time with Achane when he comes back, he's still going to be valuable. Just because they're not going to be giving Achane if or when 20 carries. So that was a good move by him as well. He's made a couple low-key good moves. He has not spent any fab. It could cost him, and he could miss the playoffs. He's right on the border, but he's playing his game the way he wants to play it, and his team's not looking terrible. I will give him that.
No. He's played on the budget. He's done well.
Yeah, I forget the timing of that trade. Like, was that right after they played Denver and put up 70?
Yep.
So it was 3 or 4?
Yeah. So after week 3,
it looked like at that time it was going to be a split with Achane, and then it's been fortunate that Achane's been out because there hasn't been anyone to even challenge Mostert for much work out of there. So so that helped. But yeah, he definitely, in hindsight, he definitely got the better end of that trade. But at the time, it wasn't it wasn't that
No,
crazy of a
I
trade.
saw
so.
A. Chan take 5 carries for 200 damn yards
Right.
and 2 touchdowns. Like, oh shit, I need to get rid of this guy quick because he had a good game that game too. But
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't an A. Chan game. I was like, oh, this guy is going to be the number 1 player on this team. Yeah,
So,
it's a Chan is.
Well, you saw the Mike Evans in that deal. Mike Evans is
Well,
a
again,
top
we
10
spoke
receiver
about
right
this.
now.
I traded him, and then in a week and not the following, but the week after, he did get hurt, and I was like, "Oh, here it comes." He got the hamstring strain, but he ended up coming back and playing the week later, and he was fine. And I was like, "Damn."
He's playing for a contract, so he's going to play through it.
Yeah, I should have thought about that, but yeah, Mike. In Baker Mayfield, he's played much better than people anticipated.
Way better. Yeah.
And Mike Evans is the only guy he throws to. I have Chris Godwin, so I would know.
Yeah.
So
especially in the red zone, he's always looking for 13 down there.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you can't blame him there, but just he's getting all the targets there pretty much. So
rough sledding with that, but we'll see. Hopefully, now that Jake Browning's in, that Mixon gets more touches. I didn't understand. Well, they played Pittsburgh, but I expect Mixon to get more touches down the stretch here. So we'll see. Let's talk about the final game of the week. Romo versus Angel. Very, very, very big fantasy implications here. This is one team just outside the bottom 4 and one team desperately trying to claw out of the bottom 4. With that, with the latter being Romo at 4-7 and Angel being 5-6. So we saw Romo win this game 94-74 with a monster performance game for Trevor Lawrence. We were off last week, so we didn't get to talk about Trevor Lawrence, but back-to-back week now where Trevor Lawrence has balled out. Looking like the Trevor Lawrence that people expected when they drafted him this season. He's looked great. Calvin Ridley's catching the ball again. Cody, you talked about how you've been lucky and fortunate, thanking Angel for that wonderful drop that he did. Mm-hmm. So big boost there for Romo's team. As far as his team across the board, a lot of single-digit scores, but Tank Dell has been a big pickup for him. He's played great over the last month, so good for him there. But Angels team, I think this is the red alert zone. Definitely for Angel. And, we talk about Lamar Jackson, and I have Lamar Jackson in a couple of other leagues. The volatility is out of control with Lamar. And again, projected 20 points this week, only got 12. His Derrick Henry trade, this is the first week it's really actually shown to be worth something, 19 points. But the rest of this team, Jalen Warren had a rough game, 2 points. Gus Edwards, 3 points. Puka, 2 points. Christian Kirk, 8 points. Dalton Schultz got him the goose. So that's a bad stretch right there. If you can't even get 20 points out of 5 players, rough go. So he did get 24 from Dolphins defense because they were playing the Jets. Any team playing against the Jets, start that defense. No, not going to happen again. So he's going to be playing that defensive waiver wire game for sure.
Well, they just lost their best pass rusher, so definitely not going to happen again. Unless they play the Jets again. But I forget if that was their first or second matchup. I think they do play them again still. So, but anyway, yeah.
So that puts that Angel 5-6.
Not going to play the Panthers every week. This is Derrick Henry's best game. He's not going to get to play the Panthers in that weak defense every week.
If there was any spot for Henry to blow up to, it would have been this week. And still good, but he's yet to have that Derrick Henry game where he explodes for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns and
3 tutties. Yep.
I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't have it in him anymore. But it's not looking great.
I don't think he's going to have that ability because Levis is serviceable, I guess, but he's not anything special. He's still learning the game. So teams are stacking the box against him, right? I mean, and against the 30th ranked Packs defense, of course, he better score in that game. But
I think they've always been doing that, though. I mean, ever since Derrick Henry's been their starter, they haven't had a great passing game. I guess it's been
The best was
good
Tannehill and
enough,
AJ
but
Brown.
he's
That was
still
all off play action.
I mean, AJ Brown was a big part of the offense the last few years. I mean,
But that was
they
built
really
off the
blew
play
it
action game.
trading.
They were having to run Henry to get that going.
Yeah, they blew it trading AJ Brown though, for sure.
Yeah.
That was a bad trade, but yeah, it's Levis is definitely he's a rough draft right now, but he's got some potential. But yeah, I think maybe Henry's just maybe all that work has finally caught up to him, because he's been definitely the workhorse back of the last 5 years. He's probably gotten more carries than any other running back, I'm sure. So, but yeah, the receivers are definitely letting him down too. He's not getting production from receivers at all. Angel, that is. So it's
no.
Sorry, Angel. It's been a rough year.
You would expect Puka to blow up against that Arizona defense, especially with Cup being limited and getting hurt last week against Seattle. But 2 points against that Arizona defense. Kyron Williams was the one who benefited from that.
Him and Higbee went off.
And Higbee. Yep, 2 tutties, right, for Higbee in that game as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Stafford had, I think, his best fantasy game all year long, but a lot of them went to running backs and the tight end.
Yeah, I wish I still had him on my team, but I just couldn't.
Once again,
so,
another one. Dang,
yeah.
Tim, the graveyard
I dropped
is piling
him a few
up.
weeks ago, but he had no games even approaching this week when I had him on my team. So,
it's remarkable.
But yep. Oh well.
But so this is a good segue into what we're going to talk about, though. It's playoff seeding. So
indeed,
that game had Angel was at 5-6 and Romo at 4-7. Romo winning now is at 5-7. Angel's at 5-7. So Cody, you've done a great job of looking at the seeding and positioning and where we're at now. Where Rob being almost locked in that top spot, you locked in pretty much in that second spot. The 3rd through 5, 3 through 5 is still up in the air. But tell us about that 6, 7, 8. What's going on down there?
So yeah, as you were mentioning, Rob's pretty much locked in that top spot. He's got a 1-game advantage over me with 2 games to go. Plus he has a tiebreaker in hand. I got 2 games above Javi in second. The game between you and Javi, there's only a 1-game difference between 3 and 4 between you and Javi. So that's our top 4. Those are the home field advantage slots right there. And then when we look at 5 through 9, it's a 1-game difference. So at 500, at 6-6, we have Alex at 5th place. With the tiebreaker over Tim, who's also 6-6 in 6th place. And then we have our 3 teams at 5-7. So with Romo beating Angel here, he's at 5-7, Angel at 5-7, and then Ricky with his loss, he's 5-7 as well. So that's 7 through 9. Looking at the tiebreakers after this week, Ricky's the highest score, so he's in the 7th spot. And then when you look at the next 2, it's Romo and then Angel. And when you look at the tiebreaker, it's a 2-point gap between the 2 of them. Romo at 960, Angel at 958 outside the playoffs. And I don't know if you guys remember back in week 3 what happened with Angel's team. Do you want to take us through it, Manny?
Oh, man, it was a huge debate on what was happening here. So as I was looking at the lineups during that week, I saw Angel had 3 empty slots going into his Monday night game.
With the 6-point
lead here. With the 6-point lead. What's going on here? Play the game is, my mantra. Play the game. And I told him, when you guys were on the text thread is, hey, what's up with this? He's like, I can't risk this. I got the W. All I care about is I got the W. I was like, man, you might need those points down the stretch. You can't play that game. You got to just, try to collect as many points as possible. But my words were on deaf ears, and here we are today. I mean, we had our love list that we had. What was it, week 5 or week 6? Where we talked about teams that I loved and teams that I didn't love, and same with all of you guys too. Cody, you loved Angel's team. I did not like Angel's team. I said no. I was the team I thought would have a chance to take a slide, and it ended up coming to fruition. And now Angel's sitting in that 9th spot. As you
That's
said
correct.
Again.
9th spot, by the way, outside the playoffs, eligible for the Loser Bowl.
Eligible for the Loser Bowl. Yeah. So, for all you people who play fantasy football out there, get those points. Don't sit your player. If you're winning by 1 point and you got a kicker going, you're winning by 1 point, you got a defense going, I can understand sitting, not risking that. That's potential for negative points. When you got 3 players that are out there to lose 6 points, come on, that's a little erroneous. And if Angel, what if you missed the playoffs by 5 points? Could you imagine that? Cody and Tim are kind of grinning over here. How do you guys feel about that? Now that we've looked back in this and we're seeing that 2 weeks left to go and Angels 2 points in a 2-point deficit to get into the playoffs. What's his schedule look like down the stretch here? Is he got some tough matchups?
I was just trying to go back through our chat here and see what some of the what we were talking about on there. That was week 3, so got to go pretty far back. But
week 3 or 4. Well, giving you the matchups while Tim's doing that, it looks like next week he gets a little bit of a break. He gets to play Andrew, who currently is in last place. But with Carlos losing, he's only 1 game behind Carlos now after his win last week. So if he can beat Angel, he might actually be able to leapfrog Carlos. And then week 14, the week right before the playoffs, Angel actually gets to go ahead and play Carlos, who's in second to last. So he gets the bottom 2 players coming into the last 2 weeks of the year. So he's got no excuses here.
Woo, that's a very favorable schedule, but still, Carlos's team is not
bad.
Doesn't
get more favorable than that.
No, it doesn't get more favorable than that. But Carlos's, he has 8 Flowers on the bench this week. I'm sure he'll pull him off again. Carlos' team's had those bad swings. Andrew, coming up with that second win of the season, good for him. Apologize to him, but that's the way it goes.
That's how it goes.
But
I apologize to all the people who didn't get to play me this week. That probably needed to win more than Andrew might have. But yeah, that's how it goes.
How it goes. Where Romo's schedule to end the season, he's got
10 members of the league.
Romo's got Cody this week, so that's going to be a very, very tough matchup for Romo to keep hold of that 8th spot, and then he's got me in that final week. So 2 very, very different schedules to end the season for both of them. We feel Angels should win those matchups, but who knows? I mean, his team is very dependent on what happens with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson, while he's been good in regular fantasy, he's not been great in fantasy football. I mean, he's been good in regular football, but not great in fantasy football. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of confidence he's going to have in him going down the stretch here. And I apologize, Lamar's on the bye next week. He's one of the 6 teams on bye. So Lamar Jackson, and 6 other teams are on bye. So Angel's going to have to start. Looks like Dobbs, who put up a negative 3 points tonight.
I think Dobbs is also on a bye.
Oh,
pretty sure, because I think. Well, I already mentioned I'm going to be dropping Madison for multiple reasons, but he's on a bye too. So yeah, Dobbs is on a bye.
Oh yeah. So Angel's going to have to make a move at quarterback. So I see Jordan Love in his future, unless someone else swoops in on him. Yeah, there's going to be a fight for a quarterback very, very soon. So Tim, Cody comes back. Tell us about what was the little conversation between us and Angel when I kind of was giving him the business about sitting his players.
I'm still trying to find it. Sorry. I mean, we have and I tried to search, but I don't really know exactly what what search term to use. But let's see. Yeah.
If you type in Angel, what the hell's up with that? That might come up, because that was kind of what I put the context under, because I couldn't believe he was sitting 3 players.
Yeah, it was after week 3.
So that would have been like end of September then, right?
Yeah, end of September. I mean, you asked what I thought of it. I thought, what it kind of comes down to, looking back at the season as a whole, is karma. You don't want to mess with the fantasy gods. You want fantasy karma on your side. When you look at Angel doing that in week 3, we were saying it could cost you. He was kind of just brushing it off. And now at the tiebreaker right now, he's down 2 points. He's losing the tiebreaker to Romo. I mean, we've talked about karma. There's a potential that someone had in this league had someone else draft for them, whether they were out on the fire lines or not. They have the high score of the league, but they're still sitting 500 and kind of outside the home field advantage spot. So that could be kind of what it comes down to. Is you always want the fantasy gods on your side. Fantasy football, you'd much rather be lucky than good, and these two guys are kind of doing things to create some unluck in their favor, unfortunately.
Yep. So we were talking about Angels matchups this year, Cody. Lamar's on a bye, and his backup quarterback Joshua Dobbs is on a bye.
There we go. Karma coming at it. We had Andrew with the curse doll sitting and mocking the doll, the voodoo doll, and now look at him. He's a dead last. So this is a lesson for all the members of the league. You do want karma on your side, and you want those fantasy football guys to know you respect them. That's unlucky. He didn't look ahead to see what week is his bye week with his quarterback, and has two on the same week. Never as bad as 1 year. It's epic. Our friend Will, as you know him, Manny, Ricky as well, and a lot of people know Will. In a fantasy league, drafted 3 quarterbacks in the draft, and after the draft, realized all 3 had the same bye week. So I don't know if it'll get better than that, but
that's pretty incredible. But yeah, so Angel's gonna have some very, very difficult slots to fill this week. He's gonna have to drop one of those quarterbacks, obviously, if he. And there's going to be other people competing for quarterbacks off the waiver wire. So, yeah, Angel's got a pretty, even though he's playing Andrew, he set himself up for a bad situation by having that
Andrew
happen.
And Carlos back to back. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And then what Romo has but Josh Allen's on a bye against him next week, and then so that's a pretty tough schedule for Romo going ahead. But if Angel, doesn't do his job and win the next 2, and Ricky kind of falters, Romo can kind of slide in through the back door.
And he's got Puka, so he's got Lamar and Gus Edwards on the bye next week. And he's got Puka going up against Cleveland next week. So he's got some tough matchups there.
It's not looking favorable for Angel.
Oh, wow. So we'll see what happens. But, it goes back to, as you said, Cody, don't disrespect the game. Play your players, especially if you're up, again, 1-2 points, you got a defense or kicker going, you don't want to have a stupid thing happen and miss because of that. Completely understand. You got a more than a 5-point gap, and you got 3 players to go. Play the players. Don't play that game that, I'm just trying to get the W. We're all trying to get W's, but also you're setting yourself up for potential failure down the road. Yeah, you need to stack wins, stack points. We've preached it over and over again from the beginning. Don't be that guy in the league who, who's going to bench players just because then you're affecting potentially not your own playoff outcome, but other people's playoff outcomes. When you do that because you decided to, think you were smarter than the game. Like, just let the players produce. They don't produce. You don't see Tim over there whining about Justin Fields.
Oh, wait.
He played his hand and he dealt with it. And
yeah, I mean, Angel's essentially
not at all.
knees with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like, you don't take a knee 9 minutes left just because you're up 14. You got to play it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I finally found it. So you posted a screenshot of their matchup with Angel having his tight end, defense, and kicker empty. He said, "Angel, what the F is this? Respect the game." And then let's see. He said he's trying to win a game. He's not trying to get top score of the week. And then he said maybe not. Let's see.
Did anyone else seem to take his side?
Javi did.
Oh,
Javi said he respected it. Manny said, "I can understand benching defense and kicker, but at least play the flex spot."
Not much has changed for Manny.
So,
stay consistent.
But then we talked about points for being a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So, we'll see, but it could. I don't know how many points. It'd be interesting to see how many more points he would have had that week if he had played whoever he benched. I want to say it was a decent amount, so it could come into play, but we'll see. So that will suck if if that turns out. If the difference between 8 and 9 is 5 points, and he's on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, his lone defense had gotten
brutal.
him. His lone defense got him 19. His kicker got 3, and then it looked like a receiver spot depending on which receiver. It was 13 points from 2 different receivers, or another 8 from a different receiver. So it was at least 30 points he missed out on.
And he's only one of 4 players that's still under 900 points total on the season.
There we go.
Those things correlate, right? So and of course, of those 4 players that are under 900 points for the season, the only one over 900 points is Carlos, but the rest of them are all fighting to stay out of the bottom 4. Those things correlate. You got to stack up those points.
Yeah, points are valuable.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a tight end that he benched, so it wasn't a flex spot. So maybe not as egregious there, but still, like he didn't even have a tight end on his roster that week because he didn't bother to pick one up. But he could have still had 22 more points just by playing the defensive kicker. So, could be a big deal, could be nothing. So,
well,
We'll
let's all
see.
hope it's a big deal so we have some content to talk about going into the playoffs.
Going forward.
And when Andrew's playing Angel in that first round.
Ooh.
Oh.
And then we'll have Edgar and Carlos, losers to see who matches up there.
All right, guys. But thank you. Great show. Lots of, very good points, and playoff primer ready to go. It's going to be a rough couple weeks here down the stretch with a lot of these teams fighting for that, 6th win, that very glorious 6th win to get them in. We'll see what happens. I'm
2 weeks left. 2 weeks left.
I'm very confident that Rob is going to hold that top spot. But Cody, congratulations on your 2nd place regular season finish.
Thank you.
Yep, it'll be good. I don't feel confident I'm going to stay in that 4th seed, but we'll see. It would be nice if I could somehow get it back into the 3rd seed. That'd be optimal, but very doubtful. Very, very doubtful.
With the trade deadline happening this upcoming Friday, I know this league isn't very active with trades. There's been more, it seems this season than the past 2 seasons combined almost. Do you guys think there will be a trade or 2 happening before the deadline, or no?
I would think there'd be at least one more, but it's hard to say. I don't know what other people were thinking or doing. But I mean, I might have to start thinking about that. I was just tallying up my running back touchdowns this year, just because I was about to say I hope that I get a touchdown from a running back. I've gotten a total. All my running backs that I've started every week, I've gotten a total of 10 touchdowns out of them.
That's week 12.
And that's brutal.
Yeah.
I don't know how I've won 6 games. So, but yeah. As far as trades though, I might have to start looking at what I might be able to do. There's some trades that I could have made earlier in the season that didn't seem like great moves at the time that would have been great moves. So I don't know, but I think everything's on the table. I just got to make sure I get at least one more win. So we'll see.
One more win, and it looks like you'd be in.
That's what I think. So
yeah. I don't see Ricky making a move, but I definitely see Angel, Edgar, or Romo being one of the ones that pull it off.
Ricky's been the only one making moves. He's already, I think, been involved in 3 or 4 trades. One with me, you, Angel.
Yeah, but I could see him trying to pull something off with Andrew or with Carlos. I can see him trying to do something. Maybe Carlos might not. Carlos might have mailed it in. I thought
you said you didn't see Ricky doing something.
No, I do. I do see
Ricky,
Angel, and Romo being the 3 that I see have the highest probability to pull something off.
Yeah.
Just because of where they are in the standings and wanting to get a guaranteed, right? With so many buys coming up this week.
Yeah, 6 teams.
6 teams.
Yep.
Being that opportunity.
Some of you guys up there, up there in your penthouses too, might be looking at playoff matchups and seeing how you can better position yourself.
I don't mingle with the common folks. Sorry.
I would love nothing more than to be the buzzard that eats the dead corpse off the road. No problem. The problem is this league doesn't do that. This league doesn't mail it in. They,
Well, and like if someone's poaching players from Andrew, that like we're all gonna kind of look at that like, come on,
Veto.
Yeah. So like if he trades Eckler to someone for another defense or like.
That's a terrible decision. But like,
no, I know, not like that would actually happen, but just something like that. Anything that's appears to be at all lopsided, where he's giving up one of his good players, is probably not going to happen. But if it's teams that are in the mix, I could definitely see something.
I can kind of see Romo making a move. He's in the 8th seed. He's got running backs, which tend to be really valuable in this league. Sometimes his running back's a little bit volatile, but he's got promising running backs who are solid running backs, at least real life running backs. Just stuck in okay to not so good offenses. I could see another team wanting to take a chance on some of those running backs and maybe make a deal with him, especially with Trevor Lawrence playing really well. That can help kind of boost his team if he can get a receiver too, and a tight end to really, boost his lineup a bit.
I tried to, I offered him a trade a few weeks back for when Tank Dell was injured. Tried to get Tank Dell and ETN from him.
Ooh.
Didn't get a response. So I don't know if it wasn't a no mamas trade. I don't think, but I kind of, I wish he had taken it at that time, but I don't blame him for not. So,
We'll see. Trade deadline on Friday, guys. Don't forget.
Be active.
Yep.
Play the game, Angel. Play the game.
There you go.
All right, guys. Great show. Enjoy the games. Good luck. Let's drink some Chardonnay on Thursday.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Good luck to all of you except Angel.
That was a Zach Chardonnay joke.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Let's drink some Johnny Walker.
Look at
go there. All right. We can have both. Let them both drink.
There we go. Yeah. Chase the Chardonnay after the Johnny Walker.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
See you guys.
Good night.